Baton Rouge is the capital city of Louisiana and sits right on the eastern bank of the Mississippi River. If you want to experience history and culture galore in a family-friendly setting, Baton Rouge is the city for you. Join us at the table to hear more.
Welcome to the Steel Magnolias Podcast. We are two sisters here to have uplifting conversations about life in the South.
The South is full of beautiful diversity in landscape, people groups, and culture, and we want to showcase each part. We've got plenty of room at our table, so pull up your chair.
Welcome back to the table. I'm Laura Beth.
And I'm Lainey.
And Lainey is back from a trip to Baton Rouge, which I cannot wait to hear all about your trip today. I do know it was good because I know you can build quite the itinerary.
Well, and I did. I tackled it well, I think.
We mentioned on the podcast, I know before, because I think that surprised my husband the first time he traveled with you. He was like, whoa, how does she know about all this stuff? I was like, well, she just researches and
I do.
Plans a lot and reaches out to locals or people that have lived there before. And I saw you do that exact thing.
I did. And you know, it's funny because this one was actually a change of plans.
Right.
I had the plans to go to the Texas Hill Country and had to shift gears thanks to the total eclipse that had no rental cars available at all in Austin, Texas. So Baton Rouge was where we shifted gears to go, and it was just wonderful. This city, you know, we've mentioned before on the podcast the importance of a river.
Yes.
In some place that's really old, like that, you know, you had to have a railroad or a river or some way for people to come and go.
Yeah.
Before cars.
Yes.
And so this sits right on the Mississippi. I think it's the 5th largest city on the Mississippi.
Okay.
And it has an extremely old history. So,
do tell.
Well, apparently, you know, when history goes back this far, I don't even know how well records were kept and things like that. But there were two indigenous tribes, the Huma Indian tribe and the Bayugula Indian tribe. And to settle a border conflict between them, the tribes used a cypress pole to mark the boundary, dividing their hunting grounds.
Okay.
And explorers saw this cypress pole that was covered in blood from like fish and things like that. And they dubbed it La Baton Rouge, the Red Baton or the Baton Rouge.
Never have I ever thought about that.
So there you go. Apparently that's where the story came from, or the name came from. Now, French explorer, I may butcher this, Pierre Lemoyne d'Iberville.
Wow. I'm not going to second guess you on that.
Led an exploration party up the Mississippi River in 1698, and they saw this red pole.
Okay.
So that's where the name came from. Anyhow, you know, when you think back to, you know, we've got the indigenous tribes. This area was under Spanish rule and French rule, and then later, you know, became part of the United States.
Sure,
and
right.
So there's just such complex history, truly. And you see that in touching every area of life. I'm going to mention something about the Capitol, going in the state Capitol. And there's something fascinating, or it was fascinating to me in there about that. But yeah, you see it in, you know, the influences of Creole and Cajun food, where you've got French and Spanish and all of that influencing.
Yeah.
So it's
a melting pot of cultures sounds cool, but if you step back and really think about that, it's probably actually really murky waters, right?
And may include some, you know, really not so cool.
Right.
Parts of you know, who was there first, and who got something
land
taken
grabs
away, and all of that. Yeah. So Baton Rouge definitely has a lot of complexities.
And so that's also where Red Stick comes from.
Right.
The red baton,
That's
basically.
Right. And so you'll see that, like we were talking about a spice shop that's called the Red Stick Spice Shop. And I saw Red Stick tours and just all these different things that were Red Stick. And I'm like, okay, I get it now. That's the Baton Rouge.
Obvious to you.
Baton Rouge.
Obvious to you if you're in Louisiana or grew up anywhere near there. Not so obvious to us. Sorry.
That's right. That's right.
That's good. I like that.
Well, I jotted down 2 cities that are not too far away in case you wanted to tack this on to another trip. Or if you are kind of thinking about where do I want to go in Louisiana. Baton Rouge is 82 miles northwest of New Orleans.
Okay, so you could fly there.
And 59 miles northeast of, do you say Lafayette? I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Lafayette.
Yeah.
So this could be, like I said, this could be tacked on and see a couple of cities.
Yeah.
But there are flights right into Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
Now, there wasn't a nonstop at a good time for us. We had to go through Dallas and then...
Yeah.
Because we were flying American, so everything goes through Dallas.
True.
You fly American, or it seems like that. But anyhow, let's just dive in.
Dive in. Yeah, so you were there a total of 3 nights.
Well, I was in Louisiana 3 nights, but I was in Baton Rouge 2.
2, okay.
So truly, it was only 48 hours that I got, and I felt like that was a good amount of time.
Okay.
I didn't see everything, but I saw a lot. So if you're planning a trip to Baton Rouge, I would say make sure you visit the website, visitbatonrouge.com.
Good to know.
They have a wealth of information on the city and its happenings month by month.
Nice.
Even broken down by, outdoor activities, kid-friendly activities, sporting events. Like, it's just a very easy to use website. I would highly recommend that. One of the things that might bring people to Baton Rouge is universities and colleges.
Yes.
And Southern University, which is a historically black university, has 8,300 students there. And then LSU has about 38,000. So
Louisiana State University.
Yes.
I've never called it that, though. It's always LSU. Nobody ever
true.
says the full name. Yes.
So that is a big part of culture there in the city. Mm-hmm. And we'll get to my visit to the Louisiana State campus here in a bit. But one of the first things we did was visit the tallest state capitol in the country.
Whoa, that's a cool nod to something.
I know. I'm going to show you a brochure.
Whoa, it sure is.
Yeah, 34 stories.
Gosh.
So they have an observation up top.
Uh-huh.
Observation deck up top. That is a great place to see, truly. Just the whole city. You can see everything. You can see LSU. You can see Spanish Town, which is a cool old neighborhood.
Ooh,
so that's a great place to visit. And
so you were just walking around, or was there like tours?
I believe you can do a tour. We just walked around.
Okay.
And one thing that was really fun was that the Senate was in session.
Whoa.
And so they have Senate chambers, House chambers. They're on the main floor.
Right.
And they had like little tables set up where some of them, the senators were out like on their laptops working or taking calls and that kind of thing.
Wow.
So it was always fun when you get to see like a true
government in action.
Yeah, a true hub of that.
Cool.
And this Capitol was actually the dream of one man who was a former governor, Huey P. Long, and he's the one who got this built.
Okay.
And is buried out front.
Oh, wow.
In the big monument to him. But it was a little ironic to me when I was reading that this was constructed during the 1930s, which was during the Great Depression, which is, just an interesting time to be building. But he was actually assassinated in 1935 there at the Capitol.
Whoa.
So just interesting that, that was such a important part of his, he had a huge history in Louisiana, but I thought that was interesting that that's also where he died.
Wow. So I guess that's why they chose to bury him there.
Exactly. And there was even a fresh, like flowers and spreads.
Wow.
Yeah, there to him.
Interesting.
Anyhow, one of the things I thought was really interesting was they have a memorial hall when you come into the main floor of the Capitol with the flags of power that have previously ruled Louisiana. And I just think it's fascinating. It has the present day U.S. flag, but it also has the Spanish Castle and Leon flag, the French Bourbon flag, the British Union flag, the Spanish Bourbon flag, the French tricolor flag, the 15-star U.S. flag, Republic of the West Florida flag. I don't even know all of this history.
Wow.
Etc. There's more.
Wow.
So isn't that interesting that it's just changed hands and
so much
territories and
everybody
where the
wants
line
Louisiana.
Falls. So anyway,
good stuff happening down there. Everybody wants in.
I know, but yeah, I think the observation
That's
deck
so cool.
is such a great place to kind of get a view of where you are and where things are in
I love that.
comparison to one another.
I love that.
So
that's a good place to start then.
It's a great place to start.
I like that.
They also have an old Capitol.
Oh, okay.
Not too far. They're not too far apart. But again, you're talking about a state that is, or a capital city that is extremely old. Mm-hmm. So the architecture is super cool. We'll put some pictures up on Instagram this week.
Yes, for
so
sure.
Make sure you're following us. But gorgeous stained glass throughout.
Okay.
Up in the ceiling of the building.
That's the picture I saw. Okay.
Yeah, it's a beautiful old Capitol.
Okay.
And I would just say that's another great place to visit. Also free to walk around and
nice.
Spend time getting some of the history of the state. Because
Right.
there's quite a bit to walk around and read. And
Did it feel like a library? Like you got to be quiet while you're in there?
No.
No? Okay.
It didn't.
I mean, not that you'd want to... I'm
And
not
it has
talking about being loud making a scene, but like could you walk in with a kid that might...
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was with two friends, and, we were chatting as we walked around and, giggling a little bit.
For some reason I had like in my mind that this is like, be quiet and don't disturb the senators and don't disturb like the peace.
Yeah, again, that was in the new Capitol
Right.
where they were working, and you could absolutely bring kids in there. We saw kids, but they weren't. I'm assuming if they were truly like they were in. When I say they were in session, the doors were open and they were milling about.
Right. Yeah.
The doors would have been closed if they
were voting,
really
or something.
voting.
Yes,
and
for
then
sure.
That would be a different vibe, I guess.
Yeah. I'd
So
say.
anyhow, there's so much to say about Baton Rouge. One of the things I noticed was lots of signs and sponsored buys of that restaurant called Raising Cane's.
Oh, really?
So
Wait,
it's the
are we
home-
getting one of those?
Maybe I think
feel like
may
we
have
are.
heard that, but it's the home of the original Raising Cane's.
Okay. Interesting.
Just outside of the gate of LSU. So it's just a little, that one still, that mothership, if you will, still exists and is open until 3:30 a.m. on weekends for the college students.
gosh.
Remember those days?
Yes, I do. So this is like kind of like a Zaxby's
Chicken
Waldo's
place.
kind of menu.
Yes,
Okay.
Exactly. So that's out of Baton Rouge, and I just saw, it seemed like they sponsored a lot of things. You know
That's
how
fun.
you would
Yeah.
see that on different signs and whatnot. Now, I have to say, I thought picked a great time to go for many reasons, one of which is February to mid-May is the prime time for crawfish. And so I got to have some yummy crawfish, and I didn't do any of the...
You didn't suck a head off or
No,
anything?
I didn't do any of that.
Okay.
It was already all done and like in etouffees and crawfish pies and things like that.
That's more my speed too.
Yeah. So that was fun. And then we got to attend what's called their Flower Fest. I hope this is going to be very much an annual thing. I know this was not the first one that I attended, but it was a fundraiser for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. and just gorgeous backdrops for photos and
like sculptures of flowers, or
yes,
like just okay,
like all made from real flowers.
Okay.
And there's competitions of, like, they have a theme this year's.
I'm kind of thinking of like the Rose Bowl parade.
Yes.
Like all the
think
things
that,
they
but just not
roses.
all roses.
Okay.
Like all
Yes.
different kinds of flowers and
Fun.
really fun. Apparently there had been like a gala the night before that was even a more dressy event.
Okay.
But this one was lots of garden wear. So you would see people in dresses or floral tops. Or yeah, and the weather was beautiful that day. And so that was just, yeah.
So everybody's just like walking around looking at the flower
displays.
Is there music?
There's vendors. There's
Okay.
music.
Okay.
The vendors, there was a couple of vendors that you would pay a price to make one of those flower
little
crowns.
So
yeah,
sweet.
some, T-shirts. And
Yeah.
I bought a really cute pair of magnolia earrings that y'all will have to see at a later date. I thought they were adorable.
Did. They're so cool.
Yeah, so great event.
Fun.
I hope to make it back to that one of these days because that was just it was fun.
Yeah.
And also that day, we went to an LSU baseball game.
Oh,
they were
sweet.
playing, Louisiana State was
they were
playing
home.
Vanderbilt.
Awesome.
And LSU was the national champions last year in baseball.
Yeah.
And Vanderbilt is doing great this year and absolutely killed LSU.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can't.
So it's a major upset.
It was one of those scores that, like, I lost count. Was it 12-3 when we left?
If they had injured players or something.
Well, I think Vanderbilt's just really good.
Really good.
And I don't know, maybe LSU lost some of their best players or something.
Yeah.
I don't really know.
Yeah, that's true.
But Alex Box Baseball Stadium is really cool and really nice. And
Sweet.
so that was a lot of fun.
Oh,
And
spring
I always
baseball.
I know.
Such an American thing. I love
know.
it.
I even ate a hot dog. I don't like hot dogs. Well, they called it something else. It was more like a bratwurst kind of thing.
Brats are different.
Those are different.
Hot brats.
That's better than I can't do hot dogs.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Fun. So you
that
went
was a
from
great
Flower
day.
Fest to the baseball game.
I
oh my
did.
gosh. Okay. Full day.
Yes.
Were you
Missed
like
the beginning of the baseball game.
Okay.
Because we were having so much fun at Flower Fest. But yeah, it was a great day.
so fun?
Now
Golly.
we stayed, I don't know, there's so many, lots of wonderful hotel options.
Sure.
But we stayed at the Hilton.
Nice.
And it was in a wonderful location.
Okay, now this is there like a downtown kind of area?
There is. This actual Hilton is called the Hilton Baton Rouge Capitol Center.
Okay.
Because it's right down by those two capitals.
Okay.
That
So
I
you were in the
mentioned.
middle of
so
it
we
all.
were right in the middle of it all. It's also right on the Mississippi.
Wow.
So you're looking out over that water. There's some beautiful sculptures out there on the water.
How did you feel safety-wise? Like, because you were in a downtown. A lot of times the downtown can be kind of rough.
Very fair question. We did most of our activities in the daylight hours,
Okay.
other than dinner and then
Okay.
coming back
Yeah.
to the room. So I did feel totally safe in the
Okay.
daytime.
That's good to hear.
I don't really know about walking around much at night because
Yeah.
I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I would
Because
ask
of your
for-
day schedule. Because y'all were...
We were exhausted
beat,
by the
I'm
time-
sure. Yes.
by the time that came around.
Yes. You've just done... Your in one day activities are what people would have stretched across a whole 3-day weekend.
I know. I do that to myself and then I come home and collapse.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was just a great location and I felt like we were, really walkable
Yeah.
to a lot of things. There's
Nice.
a lot of great museums that I didn't even get to hit.
Oh,
I
you
know,
love museums.
You know me. But this is a very kid-friendly city. There's a children's museum.
Okay.
There's a zoo.
Good to hear.
There's an art and science museum. Sporting events galore.
Yeah.
I saw lots of kids at the baseball game.
I'm sure. Yeah.
One of the things that I haven't mentioned yet, I guess I could go ahead and dive in now, is on the LSU campus, their mascot is the tiger, and they're the only campus that has a real live Bengal tiger
amazing.
that lives there.
And there's other teams that are tigers.
I know.
They don't have a real one, though.
So Mike, number 7, is who is on campus right now. And I had the privilege of interviewing Ginger Gutner. And she is the caretaker for Mike. And
what a crazy job.
I know. So she studied communications, and she is kind of his communicator, does his social media, meets with the press. And so
on his behalf.
It's so precious. So I got to sit with her for a little bit and talk about Mike. So yeah, they get these tigers. They don't ever, breed them or anything.
Yeah.
They get them from somewhere that needs a place to go.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I got to hear part of your interview. Yeah, they're from sanctuaries.
Yes.
And other places that are looking to home a tiger, like places that are about to go out of business or go under.
And that's a thing. Who knew?
Yeah. So they're kind of rescuing...
They
just
are
one at a time, but still.
One tiger at a time, but this one is quite lucky, I'm going to say.
I bet.
Because this is a 15,000 square foot habitat. It has 2 pools, a waterfall.
My gosh.
Has this big, they call it a comfort rock that can be heated or cooled. Yeah.
I'm imagining the cast from Madagascar when they're in the zoo in downtown and they're like, they've got such a cush life. The lion and the zebra, they just don't even know what it's like in the wild.
Well, this creature has it made, and people come all day, every day to see him.
Wow. Yeah, that is interesting to think about because, so he's not from one family line, one genealogy or whatever.
Right.
Because there's like Smokey, I had to insert something about UT here. And since we're talking SEC, that's all from
a family line.
One family line of coonhounds. So
funny.
But yeah, I read, so you said this is Mike number 7.
Yes.
I read, and I think Ginger even said to you that the first one goes back to 1936. I can't imagine bringing I can't imagine bringing a tiger on campus in 1936, and the students paid for it. The first one.
So adorable.
So I don't know that they were like rescuing the first one, but it was $750, 1936. Every student put in a quarter. So there's your student activities fee for the semester. Everybody pitched in and
that
got
makes you even have ownership in this tiger.
That's crazy.
So he's behind 2 fences. I mean, he's definitely
okay. Yes,
far
they're
back.
not wanting fingers to go.
They have covered all their bases. In fact, she's been behind only 1 fence.
Okay.
From him, but nobody's actually interacting with him.
Right. This isn't a zoo.
And
there's not like a...
She said that they've got ways that they can, get him his shots. And
sure.
Like, he's trained enough to do certain things where he rubs against the fence and they can get to him. Or there's ways they can get him to stand up on his back legs.
That looks so cool.
So they can see his belly and things like that. Because the vet school there is getting to work with him in that way, which is super fun. I mean, this guy weighs in the neighborhood of 400, 420, and just the size of his paws. And
that was another funny comment Ginger made to you that I listened in on. She said, "I will see your freshman 15 and raise you 300 and something pounds," because that's how much he
gained.
Yeah.
Woo! Well, he eats 20 pounds of food daily.
Oh my gosh.
It's a special formulated zoo carnivore diet.
Wow.
It comes in these logs. She said basically like how you would sometimes see ground beef in those big logs.
Yeah.
It comes like that. And it has all the nutrition he needs.
Wow.
I did get so tickled. She said now there's this tradition where depending on who LSU is playing in a certain game or something, sometimes they shape the log into the shape of that state.
Oh, yes.
For him to eat. And
what a spectacle. That's
so cute.
So I guess people, like, that's kind of part of the routine of maybe going to a football game. You might want to go by and see Mike the Tiger. I don't know. Like, is it...
I didn't ask that question. That's a great question.
And I just kind of wonder, like...
I do know she said... there's people all around.
Yeah, okay.
But you just never know what he's doing. Like, so while I was there, he was curled up napping.
Right.
And she was able to get close to the fence and kind of make some noises that got him to sit up. Because he knows her voice.
Okay. How cool.
And he sat up a little bit, but not gonna, like, dance around for us.
No, not a circus. Yeah.
It's not like that. We were saying they needed some kind of like live cam where you could jump in and you know, actually see where he is and like, hey, I want to go make my way down there because he's in the waterfall or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but I guess it also keeps it interesting that you don't know what you're going to get.
That's
so
true.
You just got to keep
roll
coming.
The dice and walk down there.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Good for you
so
for getting that.
That was a fun little way to spend a bit of an afternoon too, was getting to talk with Ginger and see that just stunning creature.
Yeah.
Really something to behold.
Wow.
And I had forgotten Shaquille O'Neal went to LSU.
I didn't know that.
So there was a statue to him we walked by to see. And yeah, lots of cool history there. And that university. So
lots of partying.
Make that part of your trip if you can.
Yeah.
I still would love to experience a football tailgate there. And
yeah,
I'm sure there would be wonderful homemade jambalaya.
Well, I was going to say they play up on the French influence. You know, they don't just say "Go Tigers," G-O. They say G. You know, spell it French.
G-E-A-U-X.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So cute. Well,
fun. Okay, I'm very surprised jambalaya is almost the first food that you've mentioned. I mean,
that could be its own episode. It's just
did
the
you
food
eat well
of Baton Rouge, right?
Yeah,
we ate so well. I will mention some of the restaurants by name because they were that good.
Okay,
but you could even put a link to the Cajun Creole episode. You might want to put a link to the Mississippi River episode because these,
good call.
Touch what I saw.
Okay, good call.
Too many restaurants were recommended for how many meals we had.
That happens.
And even how many meals, like if you have one of these big meals, do you even want another meal? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I can't do all of that.
Yeah.
So I will tell you what we had because it was epic.
Okay. Ooh, epic.
Yes. One of the restaurants, this one requires a reservation, is called Juban's. Jubans.
Yum.
One of the gals I was with said, if you find out that I'm having a last meal, I want you to get exactly what we have.
Wow.
Like, this is what I want for my last meal.
My goodness, that's a compliment.
I had the best fried green tomatoes of my life.
Really?
And I've had quite a few fried green tomatoes.
I know. That's why my voice is like, what? Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Definitely recommend that. I had the cauliflower, crab, and brie soup.
Yum.
Kind of.
I've never heard of anything like that.
I know.
Not even close.
It was similar to a she crab.
Okay.
In that it had the seafood pieces and
the
creaminess.
Yeah.
But different, too. So
wow.
That was wonderful. I ordered the Hallelujah crab because it was recommended by a family member. And it is the soft shell crab.
You just wanted to say hallelujah.
Hallelujah. But what's precious, and again, if you follow us on Instagram, you'll see the picture. The crab is like,
oh my gosh,
arms up,
he's praising the Lord
Jesus. And in his ending of life. And so that's where the name comes from, I'm assuming, because he's got his praise pose on.
That is hilarious.
And then, but the best entree that I tasted was the one my friend Kaylee had.
Okay.
And it was boudin stuffed quail.
I would have never ordered that because I would have been nervous.
It was galore.
Wow.
And the drinks were really interesting and good. And again, Kaylee wins the prize for the best drink. She ordered honey-infused bourbon. Okay. So they had put a honeycomb in this bourbon.
Wow.
And left it for a couple of days. And the flavor, has
this place won like James Beard anything?
Well, we wondered if there was maybe even something happening, because there was just a lot of maybe they're going for that happening in that restaurant. But anyhow,
maybe somebody big was coming in. Who knows?
Well, yeah, me. I'm just kidding. Totally kidding. So yeah, that was a definite don't miss that spot. Glorious. We ate lunch one day this was just intriguing to me. It's called Mestizo Restaurant, but it's Louisiana Mexican.
Oh.
So I'm like, well, what does that even mean?
Yeah,
right?
What does that mean?
Well, it was really a great little spot. It had lots of healthy options.
Nice.
Lots of gluten-free and keto choices. Like,
everybody with dietary restrictions.
It was all well marked and tons of choices. But anyhow, we had, I don't know if this is even going to sound good, but I'm going to be making this summer.
Okay.
Guacamole with watermelon chunks and feta on top.
That's interesting, because to me, guacamole is so good in general. So
on a hot day, having a little watery watermelon with it was so good. So good.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that was our appetizer. And then I had shrimp crawfish enchiladas.
Yum!
Because I'm going to go regional, right? I can get beef and chicken at home.
Sure.
I'm going shrimp crawfish enchilada. It was like their special.
Sure.
So it was perfect.
Yum. Yeah. Ooh, that sounds so good. I want that right now.
And the other thing that was interesting is, when you go to a place like that has a strong culture of regional fare, you also don't want that for every single meal. Like, I didn't want gumbo 6 times in 2 days.
No.
So that was kind of fun to okay, let's go Mexican, but also have crawfish in that.
Good call.
Yeah, so that was really
smart planning.
Last meal we had was at Paraines, which was on pretty much everybody's list.
Okay.
A good place to go. So it's a huge restaurant.
Okay.
Don't take reservations.
Okay.
For a small party, we didn't have to wait.
Okay.
But there was a lot of large parties there. Mm-hmm. And so I did see that there's a lot of people waiting. But there were sometimes groups of 8, 10,
Yeah.
So
that's also a good sign, though, that it's going to be good.
Lots of locals were eating there. Okay. So also a good sign. But it has all of the traditional gumbo, jambalaya.
Okay.
Shrimp etouffee, hush puppies, like all of that kind of thing. And it was all good. That was the best gumbo we had.
Really?
Of the trip.
Wow.
Was there at Paraines. It's on a list. I saw a list of the top 10 best gumbos, and it was one of them.
All right.
So it was definitely a good pick. And I had an andouille encrusted fish.
Gosh, I love andouille.
That was really interesting and yummy. So it was the waiter's recommendation of his favorite.
Okay.
I often will ask that kind of thing.
I do too. Probably because I've heard you ask, but yeah.
And so that's what I went with, and it was great. But this region is known also for po' boys and beignets and all the things you would see in New Orleans.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That you think of as New Orleans. And I just felt like, I wanted to make sure I got a good bit of that.
Right.
But they apparently have all sorts of good food. There was 2 Italian restaurants that were recommended. One of them, I thought this was so cute. It's called Gino's Italian.
Okay.
Apparently, it's only open during the LSU school year because the family goes back to Italy
Whoa.
for the summer. So,
because Europeans know how to vacation. They summer.
They summer.
Wow.
So, didn't get there because you only have so many meals. But anyhow, they are not lacking in the food
how cool.
culture. Beignets, we went we went to Coffee Call that was recommended by a lot of different people.
For beignets.
And they even have a drive-through.
See, they know what's up.
They know
somebody's just... Well, and that might be a locals thing, too. Like,
that's true. Just to get them to go.
If I was local to beignets, I'd have a problem.
Well, I actually didn't partake in the beignets. We got them.
You're not a sweets in the morning kind of person as much as I am, though.
I'm not super sweets person. And I'm also, this was nighttime after Paraines. I'm done. Yeah. I just had gumbo and fish and hush puppies. I don't need, my fried bread was my hush puppy, not my beignet. But apparently they're the spot.
Coffee Call. That's fun.
So that was...
Man, that sounds fun.
My food recs. And just a couple more things I want to say. One is Louisiana is known as the sportsman's paradise.
Oh, like for hunting or?
Just, sportsman fishing. Yeah. And so I just wanted to say there is a lot of kayaking, fishing, golfing, hiking, like a lot of that kind of stuff to do that we didn't get to. And
that's interesting.
I know. And another thing that I think is really kind of fun is if you happen to be there in the November, December kind of time frame. I just thought this sounded fascinating. It's American white pelicans migrate south during the winter, and there's dozens of these that rest in the lakes for weeks. Oh. There in that area. You can catch just thousands of majestic birds in the lakes there.
Wow.
So I thought, well, that'd be fun to see. I love the look of a pelican.
I do too. I was just going to quickly look up. You said the American white pelican?
Yes. So
how
see
pretty.
A bunch of thousands of those on the lakes there would be super cool.
Wow. Yes. How cool.
I mentioned a little bit about... we could see that Spanish town when we were up on the observation deck. Again, really, really old. Mm-hmm. Some of it from the late 1700s. So there's some cool architecture in some of these neighborhoods. The Spanish town, another one called Beauregard Town. So, even just having a little bit of time to walk around neighborhoods and see some of the community there would be fun. There's also down on the river, I mentioned a couple of sculptures. There's one called Sing the River that's really beautiful. Looks kind of similar. Again, follow us on Instagram. You'll see the pictures. Think like the Bean of Chicago. It's like a reflective structure. And then there's also the USS Kidd Veterans Memorial, which is a World War II era destroyer ship that you can tour.
Cool.
So that could be fun if you had kids too, to kind of get to see this ship and what its role was in the Pacific.
Wow, you did that really well.
If Baton Rouge isn't on your list, it should be.
It sounds like it. So like you said, you could tack it onto a New Orleans trip, or you could fly directly there, or... Yeah.
You may not even, I mean, some people don't want to go to New Orleans. Mm-hmm. That's their, been there, done that, or else don't want to take the kids there. Whatever your reason is, you can get a lot of the good stuff in Baton Rouge.
Sounds like it.
And not ever have to go to New Orleans. So
interesting.
Just keep that in mind if you're wanting some Creole Cajun.
How fun. Well, y'all heard it first here. And,
Visit Baton Rouge.
Thank you so much for the full rundown. Now everybody's going to want to go on a trip with you.
Come on, let's do it. I have lots of ideas of field trips. Might talk about one next week. I think we should do.
Let's do. Y'all have a great week. We are so thankful that you sat at the proverbial table with us today, and we will be back here next week with more fun, uplifting Southern culture.
Peace be with y'all.
You've just listened to an episode of the Steel Magnolias Podcast, an independent show funded solely on support from listeners like you, and a few advertisers from time to time. For reminders of what we just said and links to what we just mentioned, take a look at the description of this episode. They are right there. Are you enjoying the show? We hope you'll text a friend or loved one to tell them about this podcast. And make sure they know how to get to a podcast first. We invite you to join our mailing list to be the first to know about episodes, giveaways, and events. Sign up at steelmagnoliaspodcast.com.